What's up, guys and gals? My name is Splattercat, and we're here at the Nerd Castle with the next episode, number 5, as I recall, of Adventurer Manager's Beta. In the previous episode, we completed a storyline quest, and that had left me with a little bit of grinding to do, but luckily the grinding in this game has been eliminated by the fact that while you will grind in dungeons occasionally in the active battle system, instead what you'll be doing is largely doing automatic quests, which actually, if you really wanted to ask my opinion about this game, I think this game would do fantastically on mobile devices. So I don't know if the developers are planning on releasing this for mobile, but a lot of the features feel very mobile-y to me, and so I think they could make quite a bit of scratch if they decided to do it. Today we're going to be starting our next storyline quest, Locate the Kingblade. We recover our father's sword, the Kingblade from the Crypt.
You grace my face. The Crypt Keeper needs a word with your highness.
Sorry to trouble you, your grace, but with Mirage as our ruler for the last 15 years, I've waited for your coming of age. I knew that you would grow up and take back the kingdom that is rightfully yours. That being said, I have some information that may be of use. Your father, long live the king, was buried with his prized sword, the Kingblade. Why did you say buried and buried? Yesterday, I saw a beautiful example of a corpse rise in the night and steal this royal blade. I'm so very sorry, your grace, but I ran away. I have a strong feeling that the gorgeous corpse is still within the crypt and your sword rightfully belongs to you. If I were to take up this sword, or you were to take up this sword, I have no doubt that it would prove to the elves of the woods that you are the true heir of the kingdom, and they would certainly swear fealty and help you overcome the dastardly Mirage. I just hope you let me perform the autopsy.
Well, he certainly smells. This sword, though, the Kingblade. It would be in your best interest to retrieve it, as the elves would be powerful allies. To the crypt!
And off we go. We're gonna bring the 187 riders because, ooh, new music and new back. Ooh, this place has scary music. I don't like this. This is approaching PG. There are worrying themes taking place in a dead guy. Well, I've never been in here. I ground us up to level 4 because it said level 4 was recommended for the quest. Oh god! Those cave spiders appear to be using their mantis style. I guess I'll hit the fruit bat in the face. Why would a fruit bat attack us if it's a fruit bat, man? Why? This saddens me. Ooh. I don't know what just happened right there, but it was bad. Okay, so they have zombies. Multiple fizzles. Oh my god. RNG just murdering us right here. This is really bad for us. We may have to go back after a single fight. We can't afford for anybody to die right now. Unfortunately, it's so expensive to res somebody if they die that it's really not an option within the confines of the way the game works. I mean, it sucks when you have to res somebody, believe me. I think right now for a level 4 character, it's 300 gold. And if we do an entire quest, we get maybe 30. So that means you gotta sit there forever just grinding to get a bit more cash. And so I'm gonna kill off this cave spot. That was a bad idea. I probably should have left the front line gone. If you fizzle again, I swear to God, Carrie. I'm gonna have him taunt the zombie just in case. Ooh. Grim taking a big old face full of spider knuckle right there. Or spuckle as they like to call it. In the hood, the spider hood. Spider hood, you guys don't even want to know. The spider hood's pretty rowdy. It's ugly. And the worst part is, they're so small that those little security gates and like bars that you put on your windows doesn't even keep them out. Doesn't even keep them out. They get in your house no matter what. All up in the living room, stealing the PlayStation, just like, damn, I saved up forever to buy that thing. I'm gonna punch the zombie in the head because, ooh, 301 crit right there. Awesome. And then we'll taunt the cave spider, maybe kill it. Oh good, we killed it. It is slain. You guys, your fizzle bullshit is really starting to frustrate me. Stop that. Stop that right now. Oh my god. Every time, it should at least not reset the cooldown. Like, having that fizzle knock you out for a lot of time is it's worrisome. I mean, I suppose if you can say something for it, it does inject a lot of terror into the play, but you guys know me. You guys, if you've been at the Nerd Castle for a while, you know that I just hate missing. Like, missing is one of those functions of video gaming that I'm just like, nope. Nope. It's the reason why I'll never do an XCOM play on this website. You guys would lose all respect for me. I would be just swearing, I would definitely embarrass myself. Not in terms of the gameplay, I'm okay at the game. Ooh, a rare chain coat with 7 strength, hit chance, and crit damage. Hell yeah. I wonder if the hit chance that you have... Let's take a look at the equipment screen real fast. And I had said in a previous episode that I didn't know how to increase your hit chance. Well, I figured it out. There's gear that does it. Did I not level everybody? That might also be another reason. So we're going to go max wisdom on all of our healers. I wonder if their hit chance, though, applies to spells as well. That might be why we get fizzles. And so maybe finding some gear to even that out and make it 100% might fix the problem. And so I've been giving him stats with a 3-to-2 distribution. So 3 constitution to every 2 strength that I give him, just to make sure that he's still a tank. His chest piece is 2 strength and 3 constitution. That one's 7. That can go on a cleric, though, and it gives hit chance. So maybe I'll just bite the bullet on this big boy. And we'll try and guarantee, or at least take some of the sting out of those fizzles. So I'm starting to get, I think I have a feeling that that's probably what fixes it. And we need to give him, I'm going to go for all strength on him. Just make sure that he is just our ringer. He is our guy that is dealing all the damage. And once he starts to take way too much damage to be surmountable, we'll start thinking about healing him. Hopefully we don't got, oh god, a surprise attack in this place would be just miserable. That would be really bad for us. I do like the challenge of the game, though, even though you find me just being like, ah, fizzles! The challenge of the game is definitely on par with some of those older games I used to play. Ooh, Fruit Bat taking a first swing at us. Zombie in the front line. Let's throw a heal on Jeff. Let's dirty fight the cave spider if we can. Let's make sure Grim doesn't die on us. I was worried about that. I'm going to continue trying to taunt at least somebody. If you're noticing that leech he's got, it's because I gave him a new sword. They got I got an epic sword to drop in one of the dungeons that they did when I was grinding levels in between episodes, and so that's where it's a froom. I thought he got taunted, though. Weirdly enough, the taunt does not appear to have stuck. And it looks like Grim is going to be the victim of the day. Unless we can pull this thing out. So, you know what I always say here at the Nerd Castle. Pull that thing out. I think I'm going to double heal him. We'll clip the zombie with the dirty fighting for 215. Spread the heals around a tad. They're healing a lot better now that they have a ton of wisdom. Let's taunt the zombie. But then again, Jeff missed. He's been thinking fondly of his home in Fresno. Guess that's going to be like the running joke of the series. He's dealing 108 on a default swing. That's amazing. I'm pretty happy about it, as you can probably tell. Pretty stoked about the fact that he's able to deal that kind of damage just all on his own. Luckily, that other zombie isn't able to partake in the festivities occurring here. I'm going to have to double heal Grim on this turn, otherwise he's going to be susceptible to dying. He's going to be open to a severe case of death. And so it said taunt it right there. We'll keep like an eye on it and see if maybe, because the last time he got taunted, he was still able to hit the spider. It didn't seem to affect him one way or the other. He was like, yeah, you don't tell me what to do. Die. He just like took him out. I'm gonna have him defend just in the off chance that they decide to focus him in an odd fashion the next turn. Just give him an old 1-2 punch. The defense does work very, very well in this game. I don't know if it reduces all incoming damage. Let's take a look at the tooltip. All incoming damage by 50%, so it can be nice to use. I'm going to take the zombie as a taunt right there. Okay. Oh, and he actually jumped the line and went after one of the healers. Not expected, but still, he managed to miss, so that's okay. 222 damage done right there. We'll throw a 100 damage heal on Jeff, and then with his final breath, or it's not his final breath, I suppose, his median breath, I don't know what part of his life he's in right now, his median breath, he will strike at the enemy and destroy them. And then all that's left is to handle the final zombie. But anyways, Jeff got a sword with life leech on it, and so that's why every time he's attacking, he's getting 2 HP. I think at some point we get the ability, oh, I probably should have looked, I think we get to put in a talent too. Something that I forgot to think about, and I think while you're on an adventure, you can assign talent points. There are talent trees in this game, in case you were wondering where you get your new abilities. Basically how it works is, on every 5th level you get a new ability, and then on every odd level in between, you get a talent point that specifies what your ability does and makes it more specialized, basically. So anyways, hopefully that wasn't a middle battle. Let's take a look and see if maybe we can spec people right now. Yeah, we can't spec people in a battle, which leads me to think that maybe we might need the extra utility. Let's go as far as we can. It's like we've got a branch in the road right here. Let's go upwards, as always, because I feel like it's a little bit more positive. I am digging the music in this place. This music is great. It reminds me of the old music from, like, Castlevania, like 1 and 2, and Simon's Quest and all those games. Definitely reminds me of that music. It's awesome. It's badass, and it's taking me back. It really is. I'm going to taunt the zombie. Hopefully we have no miss going through. People are wounded, but we'll get both of them topped up, I guess. We'll go after the zombie first, since he's going to be the primary damage dealer in this group. Not going to heal Grim right now, although we do have the possibility to take a lot of damage from some of their frontline fighters, because obviously the fruit bats can jump the line and come at us. I would have preferred to have the 2 bats in the front and the 2 zombies in the back. That would have been the super optimal configuration, but can't always get what you want. Let's work this zombie. He's got a lot of HP. It's going to take us a while. She's got a heal up, so I think I'm going to have her throw it on Hefe. Ooh. Alright, that's fine. But yeah, hopefully you guys will see what I mean in the coming episodes. That's right, I said the coming episodes. I know I'm going to end up doing more than 5 episodes. I like it too much. That's the problem, is I started playing it without the intent of playing it over the long period, and now I've turned out to really like the game. I initially actually was kind of apprehensive about the game. I was like, it's pretty old school. I'm not really sure if I want to go back to like 1992 right now. And then what ended up happening is I started playing for a little bit, and every time I play this game now, I feel like a little kid. And it's a weird, addictive feeling. Because obviously the game, you guys have seen the mechanics thus far. The game is very simplistic. There's not a whole lot of bells, wheels, and knobs and whistles and whatnot going on. It is what it is, but it's such a classic, perfect recreation of the Super Nintendo RPGs that I know and love. Not the later RPGs that were all graphically intense and using 3D and all kinds of crazy stuff, but like the earlier ones, the very earlier ones that were honestly not that different aside from late Nintendo, not that late from NES games, aside from the fact that they no longer had like those weird sprites clipping in and everything to conserve memory and whatnot. I mean, some of them even still had that, to be honest, as they were learning to harness the technology in the earlier days of the Super Nintendo. But anyways, I loved the Super Nintendo when I was a kid. I loved the Genesis and the Super Nintendo. Those were my 2 consoles right there, like my generation's consoles anyways. I had an Atari 2600. I had a Nintendo, an NES. I had a Genesis. I had a Super Nintendo. I had a TurboGrafx. And I saved up money for all of these, by the way, just so you don't think that, like, I had Nintendo consoles and things, like, thrown my way just haphazardly. I would save my allowance, and then I would find them in the paper, because our paper had a freebies section, and back in the day, people used to they had no idea what video games were worth, and so what would happen is you'd have somebody in the newspaper that would be, like, selling TurboGrafx with 4 controllers, a multi-tap, all of the cables that you would need, 14 games, and they would be selling it for $50 because they wanted to go buy like a PlayStation. And that's what happened when the new gen consoles came out. At least they were new gen to us. And this was right about the time that I was, I don't know, I think it's like what, 95 when the PlayStation came out, so that would have made me, was it 95? I don't think it was 95. I think I got my dates mixed up. It might have been 97. 97 sounds a little bit better. 95 seems a little bit early for the PlayStation. Maybe the Japanese release, but anyways. So anyways, come 1997, it was around the time that I was like 10 or 11 or 12 anyways. People were just selling their consoles and selling their games like crazy so that they could upgrade to the new generation, and it was a terrible mistake. Because what you find now is that, like, I think N64 games and whatnot are getting a little bit more expensive on eBay, but it still can be pretty difficult to grab a game like Phantasy Star, for example, on the Sega Genesis is a clear-cut collector's item. It's ridiculously expensive, which makes me glad that I never sold my copies. I still have Phantasy Star 2, 3, and 4 for the Sega Genesis sitting in my living room right now. Which, by the way, Phantasy Star 4, if you're looking for a game to play on an emulator, go play Phantasy Star 4 right now. Fantastic RPG. It's my first RPG, so maybe I've got a little bit of nostalgia, but Chaz Lashley and Alice Brangwyn and Han and all those guys are, with Rune and all them, great game. Fantastic storyline as well, because what they did to make the game really pop is with Phantasy Star 4, the game didn't have the graphical capabilities to have like animations or anything, and so what they did is instead, whenever there was a cutscene, they used still frames of hand-drawn anime that they had used. they would have the text down at the bottom, but they would have full scenes of characters talking to each other and like fighting the enemy, much in the way you would see it in a cartoon if you just took a picture and then just voiced over it basically, or basically just did subs over it. It was very, very cool. I've never seen another RPG that did that. I'm sure they're out there, but I've never seen one. That's just me, maybe. I guarantee there's probably some big old JRPG fan out there who was like, oh, this game did it, this game did it, and this game did it, but Phantasy Star 4 is the one that I remember for doing it, and if you're looking for something to emulate, go jam on some Phantasy Star 4. Phantasy Star 3 is okay too, but Phantasy Star 3 starts to get back to the period where RPGs were really primitive, and it actually hasn't aged that well. I went back and tried to play Phantasy Star 2 and 3 the other day. Not the other day, like maybe a year ago, and it definitely... Phantasy Star 4 is the only one where the mechanics and everything else have come nicely into the future and could be described as classic, whereas with 2 and 3 you can tell they're still kind of figuring out the way the Sega Genesis works. And then I never got 1 because 1 was on the Sega Master System, as I recall, and so I was never able to get my hands on a Sega Master System or Phantasy Star 1, which is the only reason it's not in my collection. The other one that I always had I had a lot of trouble tracking down Shining Force. That was the one that I had a ton of trouble adding to my collection because people just charging ridiculous prices for a ridiculous amount of money for a copy of Shining Force. Like, you would be very, very surprised at the amount of money that people get away with. I'm sure somebody will go Google it now and I'll find out it's only like $40, which will make me cry because at the time that I got it, all the ones on eBay were insanely expensive, and there was no price variation on it either. It was just like, you paid this amount or you don't get the game. I don't like emulators, by the way. That's my other thing, is I like to play it on the console it originally released on. So if I can, I always try and get the console version first before I emulate, because I very, very much prefer to just sit on an old TV. I still hook it up to an old TV with a coaxial on it. It makes me happy, like an old 16-inch TV or 20-inch TV. Put it in the living room. Ooh, a Hand Axe of Aptitude, and that one's got much better stats than the sword he's currently wielding. So the second we get ourselves to a position where we can take a break for the day, I'm going to equip that on him. Doing pretty well right now. With the way his sword is being held in the ear of his suit, it looks like he's got I don't know. It appears as though he's got some kind of, I forget what it's called, but there's like a Japanese food where it's like little balls that are white and pink and green, and I forget what it's called. It starts with a D, I think. Or I don't know, Domo or something, or Demo, or I have no idea. It's got a name. I know it has a name, and I'm pretty sure it starts with a D. Dongo, that's what it is. Dongo, there it is. I've remembered now. And so we're at our equipment. Let's go through real fast and we'll see what we've got to begin with, because I always forget about things that I've picked up. Okay, so none of that's going to be useful to anybody. Can he equip a hand axe, by the way? Or is it just for... Oh, it's Barbarian. It's not going to be Bard. It's going to be Barbarian. That's disappointing now that I'm thinking about it. I was thinking, why would a Bard use a hand axe? Aw, man, I thought there was going to be a Bard in the game. I was like, send in the Bard, which is my running catchphrase for D&D. You always send in the Bard first. Forget that guy. So now we've got a hand axe that's worth our time. So 7 to 7 damage, or 7 to 10 damage. It's actually got stats on it that we need compared to this Sword of Balance, which I was only equipping because of the higher damage threshold. And then we get more life on hit, a higher hit chance, a higher crit chance by a sizable amount. So at 5%, we should actually be critting pretty frequently from here on out, or at least more predictably. Let's take a look at our map. Found ourselves a treasure chest. Let's go back to the junction that we were at previously, and then we'll go off to the right. But yeah, as I was saying, since this game is actually a little bit grindy with regards to the way that the dungeons work, I'm just going to talk about classic gaming or something. And so if you guys want me to talk about classic gaming, bring up a topic, and I'll talk about it during the episode since we have so much time anyways, killing just random mobs. And I'm still not gonna make this a full series. We're not gonna beat the final boss, but I'm gonna do a lot more episodes than I originally planned. So anyways, I love the Sega Genesis. The Sega Genesis is one of those consoles that it was the first one that I got, and a Super Nintendo I got later on. My best friend when I was growing up had a Super Nintendo, so I got to play Super Nintendo really frequently as a kid because he had it at his house and he didn't have a Genesis. So he got to play all the Genesis games at my house, and I got to play all of the SNES RPGs at his house. And so, growing up, I played a lot of RPGs. I think I started with Phantasy Star 4, and Final Fantasy VI was the big game that I remember that really brought me into story-based RPGs. I played that when I was probably 12, 13 years old, and it just blew my mind as a kid that a game could have such a great storyline that was so in-depth, because 12 years old was right about the time that I was reading things like Lord of the Rings, and I was reading Alexander Lloyd, so I was reading The Black Cauldron and all of those with Gurgi and whatnot, and I was starting to read books that were a little bit more complicated than kind of just the trash novels they feed you when you're a little kid, like Hello God and all those, you know. All the random novels that they get you started on when you first start reading as a kid. And so I wanted to have storylines that were what I enjoyed, things like Dragonlance that I had started to read, and just kind of fantasy novels and things. And that's what I got when I started playing Final Fantasy VI, was the first time that I actually had a game that the storyline wasn't necessarily linear, and there were a lot of things going on, and there were kind of politics, and there were enemies that were very clearly evil, and there were secrets hidden all over the place. And after that point is when I really fell in love with JRPGs. And I probably had after that a good 5-6 year tryst with JRPGs, where I played everything from Grandia to all the Breath of Fires, which is one of the big... I sold my entire Breath of Fire collection, which was one of the big mistakes that I made in my gaming life, I guess, as I would call it. That was one of the... I think that's one of the few transactions I ever regretted, was selling all of my copies. I had all of the Breath of Fires up to the one with the guy with the tiger tail on the PlayStation. I had the Super Nintendo copy. I had all of them, all the way up. I think Breath of Fire 3 was the one with the cattail, the guy with the cattail, and there was one after that that I had too that had to do with like dragons or something like that. But anyways, I had all of them and I sold them. I traded them to a guy for a bunch of Mega Man X games, as I recall. And I like Mega Man X. That's another game that I'm a huge fan of. I love the Mega Man X series, and I don't play those anymore either. Kind of fallen away from playing all the old classical series that I really liked when I was in junior high and high school. Grandia still remains one of those games that I recommend to people too. If you've got a PlayStation emulator, go play Grandia 1. Great game. Absolutely amazing game, in fact. Grandia 1 was the first game I ever played that I was just like, wow, that is an enthralling storyline. Like, I had seen good storylines before, but Grandia takes the cake. The combat system's really good too, with the various combos, and I like the way that the skill eggs work and all of that fun stuff. So if you're looking for a JRPG that's not necessarily... If you want a game that's got all of those old anime tropes and whatnot, but also has an amazing storyline, likable characters, all the characters are very, very likable. It's before everybody became angsty. That's what I like about it, is they're, like with JRPGs, they went through phases. So for a while after Final Fantasy VII, everybody was angsty and brooding and had comb-overs, and then they had like this brief period where I found all the characters were really likable, and then after that they've moved into like the Naruto phase of designing characters where everybody's like way too chipper and positive, and I don't know. I think that's what probably drove me away from the RPG scene from Japan for a while. I need to get back to it though. I've heard that Last Odyssey is really good, and I have a friend who plays a lot of JRPGs and has been recommending them. But anyways, we've stopped here. My name is Splattercat. Thank you for joining me at the Nerd Castle for another episode of Adventurer Managers Beta. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Take care out there, everybody, and see you later.